what are some of the secrets to building a community that is hungry and tattooing and doing all the things?
As long as the group was started to be of service, people know it and they feel like they're being sold to and they don't like it. So I think the first thing is just being genuine. How well have you done the work to know your people? Are we really gathering and mining the data about our people and what they actually want? And then are we giving them a really clear path to get there? If we can build a community that feels more collaborative, it feels genuine, and it gives them a path of where they're supposed to go, those are all the hallmarks of really good programs.
Welcome to Unreasonable Autonomy. My name is Sarah Grace. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs and innovators who refuse to settle. Here we dive deep into raw, real conversations with boundary pushers who have pursued seemingly impossible ideas and yet have achieved unreasonable results, whether that's in their faith, relationships, health, politics, yes, even business. All of those conversations are happening right here, right now. So let's buckle up because this isn't about playing it safe. Unreasonable ideas, unstoppable results. Let's go. Can you believe it? Holly Flick is here on the podcast. So excited. Holly Flick is the founder of Markors Advisory, where she architects the product ecosystems and customer journeys for some of the highest grossing education and SaaS businesses in the market. Over 14 years and 200 plus businesses, she has worked alongside operators like Russell Brunson at ClickFunnels, Adly at Viralish, and the team at Infusionsoft. At ClickFunnels, she served as director of content and director of digital products through the company's scale to over 100 million in revenue. Markers' roster contains clients boasting audiences of 8 million and billions of views per month. Holly has helped build and run a mastermind program whose launch generated 16 million in a single event. She is currently building the Lyceum, a private advisory cohort for founders running membership-based businesses. You are going to love the depth behind this conversation. Let's meet the amazing Holly Flick. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the podcast. And boy, this guest I have wanted to be sitting here in the hot seat for like a couple of years, if I'm honest. Couple of years. And somehow the stars aligned and she even let me reschedule because I had to go to an awards assembly at school because it's May in 2026, right? That's what we're all doing. But I am so thrilled to welcome the amazing Holly Flick here today. Holly, welcome, by the way.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You guys, this is so amazing. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to bring Holly in today is, number one, she is a genius. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Second is, I would dare say that her biggest strength from the outside looking in is she deeply cares about relationships. Maintaining relationships, understanding people, and therefore being able to really, really help them in very real ways in business. And that's really what I was so excited to bring here to the podcast today is how you have navigated some of the biggest companies in the world, whether that's been Infusionsoft, Keap, or that's been Adly, like 1 billion views per month. Like we'll talk about her. I know she's a dear friend of yours, all the way into the ClickFunnels world and beyond, that somehow you've been able to navigate some of these biggest companies and help them succeed and still maintain a person-first reputation. So I am super excited that you are here in the room. Welcome, Holly. Are you ready to go?
I'm excited to be here. Thank you. I've been following you for a while, so it's fun to see your podcast grow, and I'm excited to get a chance to chat with you.
Oh, it's going to be great. So we're going to dive straight in. For anybody who may not have, sat in a room with you or heard you speak or seen your incredible consulting work, give us the 2 to 3 minute version of what got you into this world of entrepreneurship and what really led you here to this crazy life of business.
Yeah. I mean, I think I grew up as a kind of a goofy entrepreneur type kid. Now that I have my own kids, I can see, one of my kids that goes and sells everything they find, like it'd be a great idea to go market, snails that I found in the creek to somebody. And I actually did that, but what really kind of got me into it is what gets a lot of entrepreneurs into it, which is kind of a necessity type situation. And, when I was, we had a kiddo who's in the hospital for an extended period of time. And Facebook just started and everyone's pinging me and they're wanting to know like, oh my gosh, how's the kiddo? What's going on? And I'm, we're there for like a week or more or something. And it was an emergent situation. And it's like, we have like a flip phone. You have to like type 3 times to get a letter, right? I'm like, I can't keep telling everybody what's going on. So I made everybody go to Facebook. Nobody had a Facebook account. I'm like, go to Facebook. And they're like, what is that? I'm like, I don't care. Figure it out. And I'll go put updates on there. And by the time we left in a week, and this was for those of us that are like OG, interneters and socialers, like this is, you'll get this. But by the time we left, this Facebook page that I didn't know how to like make anything private, or there weren't groups or whatever. I just was putting stuff out for my family. I had 500 followers. It was insanity in like a week. And that's when Facebook was, it grew like nuts back then. Right. So I can't be like, I was fantastic, but like it became kind of my daughter had epilepsy at the time, and that's kind of why we were there. And it became kind of a space for educating people and empowering families, and just kind of encouraging families who were dealing with or helping their children through epilepsy situations. And it was one of those things that got me really excited, got me into a community of people. It was really fun. And then I ended up working with my daughter's nonprofit therapy center. She was in a horse therapy situation for a while, and I worked for them and did this for them on a consulting basis, and it just kicked it off. And it just was one of those cool things where it was like, I didn't even know what this internet thing was. I have a degree in philosophy and another one in comparative religion. So this is like, marketing is super not what I did. But then you get into a community of people like you, and it's like, why would I ever want to be anywhere else? Like even the struggles that we have, being in a group like we're in, like so encouraging, and we're all doing the same things. And like, even just watching your posts, if you guys don't actively follow Sarah and all of her posts, go check them out. Like she's very real. It's very like, this is life, and being in a community like that, you just never want to leave. And so it's been very motivating to stick around. So
I'm sorry to hear about the experiences that you had with your daughter, and how interesting that you were forged through that to find this niche of, I know how to gather, and I know how to help things grow, and I know how to help things succeed. And so, hindsight is 2020 on what we learn and experience through some of those things. So I would dare say that you're like, how would I dare leave a community like this where people are so vibrant and all these things going on and problem solving? You actually had a really, really good reason to leave the entrepreneurship world. And that is the fact you are a single mom of 4.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. That would seem like the hardest combination. I am not a single mom. I do have 4 kids. And when I try to look through your lens, I'm like, Holly, what is the secret? How have you done this? Right?
Well,
Talk to me.
That's funny. I mean, well, first of all, I don't think I'm anything special. Like, I think we all just do, especially as mamas. I have so much respect for the mamas, not to downplay anything that the papas are doing, but man, mamas, we fight for our kiddos. And it's one of those things where we just do what's necessary. So the mamas that I know that are, in tough situations, they just get stuff done when they need to. And so for me, it was a question of, what kind of, before I was single, I was a stay-at-home mom. I homeschooled my kids. I made sourdough bread. Like we had a big garden, and we, sat around and homeschooled and did, on the river that we lived on. And so, moving into being single, it was like, what kind of experience do I want for my kids to have with me as their mom? And I just wanted it to be as close as I could to being as present and available. And so work had to be flexible. And that doesn't mean that, I love that if people think that when you work at home, or, you work online, and those of us, everybody after COVID, we get that you work online, it's still work. And I think people are starting to get it more. Most people think like, oh, you work at home, like you can just do whatever you want, whenever, but the reality is like work is work, and entrepreneurship is insanely difficult. It's like, oh my goodness, the trade-offs of, the flexibility that we have to have an event in the middle of the day that, to be honest, not a lot of parents get to go to because they're 9 to 5 and they don't get to just leave in the middle of the day to go to like a ceremony for our kid who got to do things or volunteer or something along those lines. We get to do those things, but the trade-off is that means that I work nights and I work weekends and I get up at 4 a.m. and get some stuff done so that I can, because we all just work. Like we're humans. We get our stuff done, and work is work. So for me, this was the way to make it work. To be home and be present and be available for my kids. And if I was the only one that could do anything, get kids to things, and then I had to be flexible, which means I have a really weird schedule, which is okay.
Which is okay. And I just love your calmness. Like often I think about the franticness that could come from that type of life
Sure.
of trying to manage and, oh, but it is flexible and it could be really frantic. And I want to push you even further on this idea of flexibility, because the reality is you have 4 kids, you've set the stage there, and you are a single mom. I know that you travel a lot.
I do.
And so how have you created this life with your kids where you are away and you are working and maintaining those relationships? Because I know you're not in this to have meh and mid, as my kids would say, relationships with your kids. Like
Right.
you want to go after the unreasonable relationship. You want to go after the extraordinary one. How have you built that where your work does require you to travel a lot?
Well, I mean, my kids are with their dad part of the time. So when my kids are with their dad, that's when I travel. So I've made it a rule, and I've only had to travel when I have the kids. I've only had to travel, I think, 3 times in the last 6 years. And so I really keep it minimal. Like I just don't go anywhere when I have my kids. So when I keep all my travel to when I don't, which has been challenging. I mean, in our world, events pop up like tomorrow and you're like, oh goodness, I got to be able to go. Right. And I've just made it like, I'm a Christian, and I just believe that God's got this handled. And so if I can't make things happen, he'll make other things happen, and that's fine. This is my priority. So my kids know that when I'm here, I'm here. I get off work at 3 if I can in the afternoons, which means I start really early in the mornings before they get up and work out. And then I start work before they get up in the morning, and then I'll do breakfast. And then I try to get off around 3 or 4 when they get home, and then take them to all their things. So I do that for the time that I have them. And then when I don't, I am all day long every day. Like I work as much as I can. And I communicate with them where we can. My kids are older. I have 2 that are almost out of the house. I have 1 that's gone. And so we talk on the phone, we text, I Snapchat with them, which they think is hilarious because I really don't. That's not my favorite platform. I just look like a goofball. So yeah, send Instagram messages. I just try to be in their world as much as I can. I also have I'm actually looking at it. I have a ridiculously color-coded schedule. Like, I don't know with your kids, if you like how you keep everything, but for me, it's, when I don't have my kids, I know everything that's going on. I know what's going on at school, and I know the tests that they have, and I put it all on my schedule. And my assistant's always so good at keeping that stuff up to date. And so I know, like, I just try to stay in their world as much as I can, I guess. But it's hard for any working parent, right? Yeah. Like, do you ever find it's hard to keep track of what's going on with your kids during a really busy season in your work?
I mean, the skeleton in my closet is like, I've been wanting to interview you for like 2 years, and I had to reschedule because I was like, how did I miss the awards assembly? Right? Like, how did I miss that one email? So I think it's natural. And I really want to help you speak to the women who are listening here. Because I do think there's a big feeling that when you hear, oh, Holly's working with ClickFunnels and Infusionsoft and Adly and these big, big, big names, that there's a standard they expect. And that is, Holly, that you fly in on this day and you consult till this day, and that it's very rigid. Do you feel that, number one, that is accurate? And second, do you feel like you have lost opportunities because you are a single mom with that standard in your life?
That's a great question. So I guess I think a couple things, as you're saying. That's a really good question. And that's the thing that I think men or women are going to struggle with, right? When they have priorities that aren't work, which is very un-American of us, right? So first off, I'm pretty upfront. I struggle with fear and scarcity mindset sometimes too, like everybody else. But I try to think of, fear is natural for me. And I think courageous means I do it anyway. And so a lot of times in consulting, I'll just be really upfront and say, hey, this is my life, and I'm able to be available to you as a consultant every other week or whenever I'm available. But there will be times that I either send someone from my team or I'm unavailable and we need to do something virtually. There are people that are like, that doesn't work for me, or I kind of know up front that it won't work, and then we just don't pursue a relationship. So I used to think I lose a lot of business, right? That was kind of my mindset, that I lose a lot of business. But what I think is I just clear my schedule. What I've come to feel is I just clear my schedule of engagements that won't fit both of us. And like you were saying and intimating, As I get older, and I've been in this industry now for 14, 15 years. And so for me, you start to kind of see where you fit and where you want to be and how things work well for you. And 15 years of doing something, you kind of have mastered the skill and the knowledge of what you're delivering. But then it starts to get a little bit bigger about like, why am I doing this? And where do I really want to have an impact? And who do I want to engage with? And, I really want to focus on just finding win-win situations. And so when somebody comes to me and they have a really rigid thing where they're like, I can't work, like you have to be here when I want you here, it just won't work. ClickFunnels was never like that. Like Russell was never like that. He knew where I was. He knew my situation. He was like, would joke around, when are you going to move down to Boise or whatever? But he knew I couldn't do that. And he was just happy whenever I could be there. Right. And I was, around quite a bit, but I just, cleared my schedule of people that I couldn't find a win-win for because they wouldn't be happy and I wouldn't be happy. So now I just really open and upfront with people. They know what's going on personally. And then, by the time they ask me to work with them, they know what's up. So.
Oh, incredible. And what a gift for your kids to witness that, right? For sure. The big companies, I understand that's neat for them to see someone who is willing to walk away from the agreement if it isn't a win-win, which is something we all could learn a lot from, but also your kids witnessing it I think is just massive. And one of the things that I think is so fascinating about you is before I went and recorded your bio, I actually didn't know what you did.
Yeah.
I just like, she's everywhere. Really cool, impactful organizations. And when I've been in certain rooms, you've always been in those rooms doing cool things, right? So what do people hire you for?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've been really blessed to have a lot of relationships lead to a lot of really cool engagements. The key, the biggest thing that people hire my consultancy for is building online ecosystems. So, if you think of a ClickFunnels ecosystem, there are several factors that go into why ClickFunnels did so well, why the community grew like it did, why the content was as engaging as it was, how they communicated with people. And those are the three things that my agency has really codified. It's how do we build an ecosystem of online and digital products that capitalize on that communication that keeps people around forever, on the content that sells more content that keeps people engaged, because we know that people like consume 2% of what they buy online now on average right now. That's the study. And then the idea of, hold on, what did I say? Content, communication. Oh, I forgot the last one. I was just saying it. But the idea that we can build an ecosystem of products that builds your best customer before they buy and then keeps them around forever. So with my mid-market clients, my SaaS clients, we talk about right-sizing your CAC to LTV ratio. But the idea is, how can we bring them in and it costs less to bring them in? And how do we keep them around forever happily, right? I mean, we had people at ClickFunnels that were tattooing ClickFunnels logo. Did you ever see that on their wrist, right? And I've just had the blessing of being behind the scenes of some people who have just done that in amazing ways. And I'm a researcher, so we've just have all this data around how they did that, and it's replicable, and it goes back, well before digital marketing world. So that's what, like, a lot of software companies will come to us and they'll say, hey, how do we add, front end products that self-liquidate? Or how do we build a community that is so rabid that people never want to leave? Or how do we build a customer journey inside our products so that people move from one to the other and they're excited to do that and buy the next thing? So that's what we work with most people with. But I also have a software company and we've worked in professional sports. And so there's just a lot of different opportunities that we've had.
It's incredible. And I would imagine a lot of your work is sort of referral based, where you succeed in certain organizations, others here, and it spreads that way. And I'd love to push you even further on this idea of how do we create like raving fans within a community? Sure. I think it's really intimidating as an entrepreneur to start anything from scratch. Oh, I'm going to open a school group. Oh, I'm going to open a Facebook group. And we kind of willy-nilly start it and put a cute logo up and we like want people to be there. And Facebook groups and school groups are a dime a dozen. And
Yeah.
so what are some of the insights? You've done this kind of underground work for so many companies. What are some of the secrets to building a community that is hungry and tattooing and doing all the things?
Goodness gracious. Well, there's so many things, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think first from a first principles perspective, we just want to be authentic. And so as long as the thing about groups is it's like inviting someone to your house for a long weekend versus a dinner. By the time the weekend is over, people see through a bit of the facade and they get in the cabinets and they see stuff. And so it's like by the time someone's been in a group for long enough, if the group was started or, for any other reason than to be of service, it comes out and people know it and they feel like they're being sold to, and it feels very uncomfortable and kind of parasitic and they don't like it. That goes for how often we use FOMO in our messaging or hyperbole, like, oh my gosh, big capital letters all the time. Like if we're emotionally abusing people, which is what I think some of these groups really do, which I know that's a really big word, but like if we're yanking on people's emotions all the time and getting them excited and then freaking them out and then, giving them FOMO and like shame and like, it's just, people won't stick around for a long time. So I think the first thing is just being genuine. Like, what do you want to be doing with these people? And I think honestly, the other first principle is how well you know your people. Do you like being in a group of your people? Like if you have a house guest for a week and you don't like them, it's not very long, like it'll come out, right? And so how well have you done the work to know your people? And that begs the question of data, right? Like a good chunk of what we do, and we have data analysts from Deloitte who have worked with massive companies and billion-dollar companies and global governments. And so it's like, when you look at the amount of data that we have available to us today, are we really gathering and mining the data about our people and then studying the data other people have collected about who our people are and what they actually want? And then are we giving them a really clear path to get there, right? Like, why are they there? Hanging out in a group is great, but do we have a purpose for being here? And can you help me get there? And I think the very last thing is just making sure that you bring other people in. Like guru culture's out. Like people know that one person doesn't know everything. So if you can be a facilitator and you can go grab all your other people that know cool things and bring them in, right? Like my mastermind this week, we have somebody coming in who's like been in this software world forever in lead generation. And they're coming in to talk to the group about a really, really cool software about, I don't know if have you seen FlowChat?
Yes.
Have you seen it? It's if you guys don't know about FlowChat, go check it out. But it's a really, really cool software. But I know I've been with these guys forever and they are so knowledgeable in this digital space and in the back end of how these platforms work that we play with all the time. And so I'm just like, will you just come in and share a little bit? And ClickFunnels is really good about that too, right? Keap was great about that. Adly is fantastic about interviewing. You're doing it right now. Like, can I bring other people to you that bless you? So if we can build a community that feels more collaborative, it feels genuine, it actually caters to the person that's there and it gives them a path of where they're supposed to go. Those are all the hallmarks of really good programs or communities.
I love it. And I love how you mentioned what you do is repeatable, right? And so you can come and plug this in if we take it seriously enough. So
Sure.
when you look at the big companies specifically that you've worked with, where have you found the biggest, where are they missing the mark when it comes to generating these kinds of communities? Is it typically that they don't know their avatar well enough? Is it typically because they are just marketing, selling FOMO all the time? Is it typical that they're not bringing in other people? Where is the biggest weakness or the biggest leverage point?
Well, I mean, so my view is a little bit skewed because I've worked mostly with SaaS companies.
Sure.
So SaaS companies are pretty famous for being product led in their growth strategies. And so it's very much like, I'm going to talk about my tool and what it does and how cool it is. And so when we talk about community, they think about they don't think about the community other than the community that's already purchased their products.
100%.
Right? Versus why don't you figure out what niche you're in, right? We have health, wealth, and relationships. And if you're in wealth because you're building businesses, then what's the next one? Is it marketing? Is it sales? Is it like, what's the niche that you're in? And then you like micronation to your particular thing, right?
Yeah.
Like lead gen or whatever. But like back out one more and be like, hey, can I help you with this bigger picture of entrepreneurship, right? And they don't build a community, right? I mean, even the professional baseball players that I've spoken with in the teams, like your community is on Twitter. Like you're building a community you have a space that you maintain, that you manage, that people talk back and forth on. And it's you talking and people looking for you, and they're like watching the communication around your brand, right? That community affects your brand, so you're managing it. That's what community, like anywhere where your people get together and they talk and right? It could affect your brand. You're there and you're talking to them and you're engaging and you're managing that conversation. Like that's what, a lot of big companies don't get is everyone has a community. People are meeting about your product and they're talking about your product, and it's just your choice whether you're getting them together in a way that's positive and encouraging them and moving them forward, or you're using that pool to go fishing in, which isn't really a community. It's just a market.
Yeah. And I just love the nuances of it. The very last thing you said, you're like, it's just a market. If all you're doing is trying to fish from it constantly, right? I'm sitting here going, oh, I have things to address in my own business, which means this conversation is working. So that's great. One of the other things that I really admire about the work that you do is as you have developed your schedule around your kids and your life, you need that to be a win and a win. You also do that in the deals that you make and in the relationships that you build. And I know secretly that you have a big desire to be the ultimate connector of people, of win, 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 win. What are some steps that we as entrepreneurs can take to better understand the art of win, 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 win when we work together?
Well, shoot. I mean, that's like right? That's the same thing as like, how do we have a healthy marriage, right? The idea, I think, is getting outside of ourselves and thinking about other people, right? But I think one of the things that I have challenged people to do, clients to do, is to sit and make a list of offer adjacent companies. So companies that sell to the same people, but they sell something that's complementary to what we're selling. Or if I was to draw a timeline of things I wanted you to do to get to where I got, or to do the thing that I'm teaching you to do, or I want you to get to, or, if you're going to use this software tool, you will also need these other things along your journey. Those are all offer adjacent people, and we can benefit each other by working together. But I think the biggest thing is that if we're not thinking about what the other person, I mean, it's just such common sense, right? But people don't do it. It's like,
don't do it.
Right. And sometimes you guys, all it takes is like going to look at their landing page and figuring out how they're selling what they're selling and just thinking through the angles that they're using. But really it's just thinking about what other people need and then figuring out how you can get that for them in this scenario. Right?
I love this. Yeah. And I know it feels like common sense. And many of us could probably think of people we could potentially help win that would also be a win for us. How do we begin that conversation of that win-win if it's a cold relationship?
Oh, see, that's so funny. I don't have cold relationships because I've just chosen not to. I'm just joking. I'm joking. But a lot of times I have to, tell myself like we're already friends. So I kind of get past like the I'm really scared thing. So I'll just reach out to someone and be like, hey, this is the opportunity that I have. Like right now, the software that we have, it's called Markors Syndicate, and it's a way for people to sell their leads to someone else. So it's like, hey, I help coaches who are baseball coaches grow their baseball coaching companies. And so I go out and I get all of these coaches, and they have all of these students underneath them that all play baseball and have hundreds of these students. But I also know that all of those coaches also have students underneath them that would buy like baseball bats. And so I would just go to somebody who sells baseball bats, and I'd say, hey, all day long I market to I market to these baseball coaches who all have clients that need bats, and you need people who need to buy bats or coaches who can help you sell bats. So why don't you just buy the leads that I have? And it's like, it's just figure out what people want and what they need, and then look at your inventory or your world and be like, hey, I'm already doing this. Why don't we just work together to either get more of the same thing that we both want and split what we get? I'll sell you something that I already have that I'm not using anymore, which a lot of times are leads that have gone cold. And so I think that, again, it just comes down to understanding what the other person wants. I mean, to be honest, if you called me and you were like, hey, like, I know a little bit about what you do. I understand that you are doing this. I understand that you have this need, and I have a way to fulfill that for you. Would you be interested? I'd be like, well, thanks for taking a minute to think through it. I mean, it's not like an AI email that we're getting.
Right.
Right.
That you'll at least have that conversation, right? At least have that conversation. I love this. And I really want to advocate for the entrepreneurs who are listening that this is really, really hard. That collaborating is really, really hard. And so what do you actually think is the sticking point here that stops us from, the fastest way to grow leads is to borrow them, right? To borrow them. It really is like, it's that simple, right? And so where do people get stuck in this process of creating win-win relationships?
Well, I think it's scary because if we're not confident in the win, and really, I think it just takes some practice. If we're not confident in the win that we can get somebody else, or we don't really understand the mechanism of getting it to them, it's hard to ask. I mean, if you're giving somebody a gift, it's hard to be really embarrassed about it. But if you don't really know if it is, or you don't really have experience, or you don't really know how to get whatever it is to them, I think the other thing is just imposter syndrome, right? Like, who am I to be telling you or asking you, for something along those lines, But I think that it's something that, again, with practice, we just get used to it. But understanding that you like really building up a proposition, and I don't know that it's that hard to think of a win-win when you get used to it and you start doing it with somebody. But once you do it once, finding somebody else that could use that same win is great. I mean, the reality is when somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I want to start this thing. Do I do paid or organic first? Right? That's all we really think about. Should I do paid or should I do organic? And I'm like, no, and yes, but not yet. Like, the first thing you do, again, this is a group that probably knows a lot about ClickFunnels, so I kind of keep coming back to it. But like, think about how Russell started ClickFunnels, right? Like, he had this great software, and he had an audience, but not huge, and he had an email, but it wasn't huge. And what did he do? He went out to other people who had big audiences. Yep. And every single week he did a webinar, right? And it's like something we hear and we know so much about, but we don't really think about what that looks like. Like, you don't have to do webinars. But what he did was he found somebody that would introduce him to his audience, and then he split the revenue with that person while the business grew. So he didn't make as much money as he could if he went straight out and did something, but he didn't spend any either. He was smart and fast, and he got it done, and he grew. There's another company that is brilliant. If you guys, do you know who Steve Harward is? Have you ever met him?
I haven't met him, but I know him. So go ahead.
Okay, Steve Harward is the CEO of Prime Corporate Services, and they run ads now. But for the first decade of their company, as they're growing to like $100 million company, they didn't do any ads and no organic. Steve just went to events and he met partners and he said, "Hey, I have something that blesses your audience, and I'd love to trade money for that." Right? So it's essentially the same thing. He went to, I think they have 1,100 partners now, and they're all people who have online training programs, or for the most part, or they help people start businesses. And Prime comes in and helps them get their first LLC. It's great. It's a great thing. It's like, hey, are you teaching people to start a business? They need an LLC. Like, if somebody gets an LLC, I'll give you a pretty good chunk of it. And that's how they grew to a $100 million company with like 0 paid ads. Right. And I'm not saying that's easy, but now we have 2 companies that are completely different who have grown through collaborative approach. And so why can't we, those of us that are, pushing hard to get to a, 8-figure company, like, why wouldn't we do that? We work really hard on our organic. I think, well, so you tell me, what do you feel like, I'll ask you the same question. What do you feel like is the hiccup with having that collaborative conversation?
Yeah. So we poll our audience before we interview people, by the way, right? Oh. And so we ask them, what if you could sit with Holly, what would you ask her? And this was a question that actually came up about creating win-win deals, right? As a consultant. And my guess is, from knowing my audience, that it is the rejection factor.
Okay.
It is the I'm reaching too big, or it's not a fit, or I can't deliver, or, all those kinds of things and I love that you've used this word practice multiple times in what you've been saying. Like, my guess is Russell had a lot of people tell him no, or ghosted, or whatever. So what would you say to those entrepreneurs that are, reaching for that first million about rejection in collaboration?
Find a good friend and work out. So and really where I'm getting with that is, like, we all, as much as I hate it, and the older I get, I laugh at myself about it, but like, life really isn't as difficult as we think it is, as far as the things that we just need to do, right? Like, we're all kind of getting past the guru health stuff, right? Like, at one point you just work out, eat better, and like sleep and drink some water. Like, I wish it was more complicated, but that's kind of what it is. So like, for me in this instance, we can't get around the fact that it gets easier when we hear no enough, because we realize the no doesn't hurt, but it does at first. It is, and it really all the time. So having a good friend to call and be like, oh my gosh, I just called Tony Robbins and they laughed at me. Oh my gosh, that didn't happen. Not yet, but I probably someday for me. But like, I'm trying to think of one that I could actually tell you, but like, I have put myself in rooms that I should never be in. And that's probably how I got where I am, is walking into a room knowing that I, like, and for all intents and purposes, don't deserve to be in this room of people who have, $400 or $500 million a year companies, and just walking in anyway and being like, hi, we're just both people. And some people like that. And some people are like, oh, who are you? And that's okay. But I think it's having a good friend, and then having some way to work off the anxiety and energy, which for me is lifting. But like, there's gotta be a good friend you can call and be like, I just, fell on my face, and have him, whatever, laugh with you and be like, dude, that's hilarious, and keep going. Good job. Right?
I am actually quite moved by this, because I just literally heard this almost verbatim from Brené Brown.
Oh, she's awesome. Right?
You have got to have someone to call and say, I'm an idiot, cry with me, laugh with me, things, right? And on the completely different end of the spectrum, you have Ben Hardy, who in his book, Be Your Future Self Now, talks about the ability to talk about failure, right? Because failures are wins and rejection and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm like, okay, listeners and myself, taking my own medicine here, that there is a pattern to this, that this is what is required to get where you want to be.
Yeah.
We are going to strengthen that. And for those of us who are moms, whether in our church pews or actual kids of our own, wouldn't that be a great skill for us to be able to show and mirror for those that we are raising? The ability to face the word no and practice that and keep going anyway, right?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. It's funny because I tell my kids when things go bad, like, I'm having a hard time, not bad, but like, I'm having a hard time, or, this and this is difficult. But to say somebody rejected me today and this is how I feel about it, and then doing it again the next day, just doing it again. Like, I don't think I've ever done that where I've been like, I got rejected, that's a really good reminder, just to be like, hey, you know what? A lot of business people, that have been in like started and sold $1 billion businesses, will say that a great first job, or everybody in Kiyosaki says this, everybody should be a salesperson first. Amen. And when asked about it, it's like, yes, he'll learn business. Yes, you'll, have a resume or whatever. But the idea is you just get rejected way more than in any other job. And so you kind of learn. And honestly, I started out, I had a philosophy degree, and I started out as a copier salesperson. Like, I sold copiers and faxes door to door for 3 years in downtown Portland. And it was awful. It was terrible. Anybody that's ever done that, like, terrible and awesome, because at one point you're so used to being smacked around that you're like, whatever. There's nothing you can say to me that, like, whatever. But you have your friends. Yes. You got to have your friends.
Brene Brown has said it. Holly Flick has said it. Ben Hardy has said it. Like, take note, everybody. Take note, right? Many friends. So I do want to shift to just one more element as we wrap up this conversation, and that is you got this philosophy degree, and you also got a religious something.
Yeah, comparative religion,
right? Yeah. And I know that you're a Christian. You are a believer in what you would call God, Holy Spirit. Listeners, however you identify that, we welcome that. What impact has being a Christian had on your entrepreneurship journey?
Oh, can I underestimate that? Entrepreneurship can be, and oftentimes is, the antithesis of stability. Like it is not knowing day to day and even being in victory in things and still feeling like it could all go away the next day. So you don't even celebrate. Like it can be and it can be really lonely. If I didn't have a fundamental first principle that I wasn't really in control of this whole thing, even though I literally get up every day and make things happen and create things.
Yeah.
I believe that as much planning as I can do, that God actually establishes my steps, that he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. So any money that comes in, it's his first, and he's going to distribute it however he wants to. So I think I would have imploded a long time ago and just found the world's stability. Like I would have just found a 9-to-5 and just been like, I will sacrifice time with my kids. I will just be, that's all I'm going to do. Not that you have to do both, either or, but for me, that's the way it would have been in my tiny town of 3,000 people. So I think that's it. Like it's given me the underpinnings and the courage to keep moving and to sleep at night when things are hard. Because I can say that as much as my trajectory has pretty much been, up and to the right, I've had more hard days than not. I mean, even the good times are really hard fought. Like this is a tough game. It really is.
Yeah. And I'm actually really grateful that you say that, because I do tend to bring very successful people on here, right?
Oh,
and I, as we should learn the patterns of success and winning in business and all that stuff. But it is not an easy button, right? It just isn't. And so as you think about, I don't know this about you, so I'll just ask you, were you raised Christian?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you imagine that little girl, that Holly, age 8 or 10 or 12, and now you imagine Holly of today, how has your view of who God is changed in that span?
That's a good question. I think it's funny because now I'm a mom, right? Which I think shapes my view of God a little bit more. And I've failed so many more times than I've done good things, right? Like, to be honest, right? And so when I think through, I think God is so much more merciful and loving. I think when I was younger, the black and white view I had of the world was like, God wanted you to stand on a pin. He's like, I stuck a pin in the ground, and if you fall off of it, like, you screwed up, right? And I don't know where I got that. That's probably it was just how I interpreted things with who I was and how I was raised. But like growing up, God is so for me. He is so for me. And I also think he has a great sense of humor, like such a good sense of humor. I think Jesus was laughing. I think he was the most jovial dude. Like, I think maybe he pushed Peter into the water, but like, it's like, I think we underestimate the humanity of this person and how well he knows us. And so I just think, man, what a good God we have, all powerful. Like, I have way more faith in the fact that he's got this and I don't. And then he's a good dude. Like, he's just a good guy. He's a guy I'd want to hang out with, which maybe I was just afraid before, I don't know.
Like, heaven forbid we actually want to be with God.
Right. Because all the little children loved him. And if he was a scary, mean guy that like pointed fingers at you and struck you with sticks, like, you probably wouldn't want to hang out with him. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you something after the podcast about how that came to light in my own life. So.
Okay. Looking forward to hearing that one. Yeah. How about you? How about you? How is your view of God changed?
Thank you for the question. I am really going to repeat very much of what you said. He is so much more kind than I ever grew up believing. And maybe I will share the story. I have this one boy who is a question asker. He just wants to know all of the reasons why, all of the commandments, all the why. And wow, he's been good for me. And there was this one time he was walking around our house. I collect art, and a lot of it is religious art, different depictions of God and Jesus and all these things. And he came to me and he's like, Mom, why is Jesus so serious? Is he really that serious? And I walked around my house, and sure enough, it is like Reverend Jesus and serious Jesus and praying Jesus, and very beautiful depictions truly from his life of different artists. And so I kind of sat with it and stewed about it. I wonder what Jesus was like, and asked the same question. The children loved him, and I wonder what he was like. And then, of course, The Chosen comes out. And we start watching The Chosen, and I watch this little boy just fall in love with Jesus, and his eyes bright as can be. And like, we would watch it every Sunday, and he would count down, and he would make the popcorn, and he'd want all the swag. And boy, did I buy all the swag, all the things, because he found someone he actually wanted to be with and wanted to have a relationship with. And boy, does that change things in our faith. Heaven forbid we want to have a relationship. This is pretty great.
That's awesome. Good for your kiddo. That's really good for your kiddo. Yeah. I mean, he hung out with some blue collar dudes that aren't going to conscience some guy who's stuck up and rude.
Yeah.
I bet Jesus had a great laugh.
Oh, for sure. And I'm going to tell my kids that maybe Jesus pushed Peter in the water. I think that's going to be.
I need to see him messing around and be like, just kidding, dude. Just kidding. I got you, man. Like,
our new translation. There it is.
You know what I mean? Not to be blasphemous. All respect due, but I think he is probably a pretty good guy.
I agree. We have been so richly blessed with views of God, with motherhood, and making it work, and of being able to just win with people. I just have been so richly blessed with this conversation. Thank you so much.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. It's been great. I'm excited to see your rise. It's been really fun to see you win, and you stuck to it. Like this is an uphill thing. And it's really, the thing that separates the people that I've seen who've done really well, like you, and continue to do well. And the people that really have struggled are just the ability to get up and do it again.
Get up
and really just find your people, y'all. Like, hang around with Sarah. She's real. Like, get in her group, figure out what she's about, follow her stuff. Like, there are some really good people out there, and that really make this real, and you'll know it. Like, you know who they are, and then just hang out, like, just be there and like DM them. And who cares if they just don't say anything? Be like, hey, I really like your stuff. Like, thanks for being real. Like, that stuff feeds us. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
But find your people. I have like 3 or 4 that I'll call if something bad happens, or I'll just text and I'll be like, got this screenshot from, somebody who's mad or something. And we'll all just laugh together. I just put my foot in my mouth with Tony Robbins, and we'll just laugh together, and just find your little group. Like we tell our kids, right?
Yes.
And you'll be okay. Hang in there.
It is so true. And let's both make a commitment that at dinner tonight, or when we see our kids again, that we're going to talk about the rejection.
That's right. That's right. I got rejected again today.
Again. Here's the proof. Let's keep going. I love it.
That's good.
Well, it has been an honor. And in typical unreasonable autonomy fashion, I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions.
Okay. Shoot.
To end this conversation. Are you ready?
Okay. Absolutely. Go ahead.
Beautiful. Where is one place on your bucket list that you want to go that you have not yet gone?
Kathmandu, Nepal. It was where I was going to be a missionary. That's why I got those degrees. And I didn't. I got married instead. So I will go there someday.
I love it. I want to text when you go. I want to see it. Brilliant. Second is, what is one book, you cannot say the Bible, that every entrepreneur should read?
Oh my gosh. Other than the Bible?
Other than the Bible.
Pilgrim's Progress.
I have never even heard of that. That's never happened. What?
It's an allegory. You can get kind of an easier to read translation, and they have a kids version too, but it'll teach you more about yourself and the journey that you're on than anything else.
I love it.
Pilgrim's Progress. It's really old. I don't know who wrote it. I should.
We will link all of it.
I've worn the cover off of mine, so that's good.
I love it when a fresh idea shows up. So we will make sure that's below. All right, last question here, maybe a little bit closer to your soul here. When you fast forward and imagine yourself at the end of your life, surrounded by those 4 beautiful kids, what do you hope they say about you?
She was all about other people.
You're already doing it.
That's it. I hope so. I mean, we all get caught up in the right in front of us, but that's what I strive for sure.
I love it. God's work is people. So it would make sense
Amen.
that's what you're called to do. All right. We have been richly fed, everybody. Huge thank you to the amazing Holly Flick. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Unreasonable Autonomy podcast. If you loved this episode, my guests and I would love to hear about it. Go to the show notes to reach out and let me know what resonated with you or what topics or guests you want to hear in the future. I am here to create for you. Look, I deeply admire your commitment to pushing boundaries and going after an unreasonable life. Keep dreaming big, taking bold steps, and expecting the unreasonable. For more, go to the show notes to dive deeper into the conversations that will keep you going. Thanks for being here.